In the years before politics, before protests, before court cases and speeches that divided an entire nation, Imran Khan was known around the world for something completely different. He was the golden boy of cricket. Tall, confident, and impossibly charismatic, Imran moved through London's society like someone born for attention. During the 1970s and 1980s, he was not just Pakistan's greatest cricket star, he was an international celebrity. Newspapers in Britain wrote about his style almost as much as his cricket. Women admired him, photographers chased him, and elite parties in London opened their doors to him automatically. But behind the glamorous image was a man carrying enormous pressure. Imran had grown up in Lahore in an upper-class Pakistani family that valued education, discipline, and achievement. From a young age, he was competitive. Cricket became more than a game to him. It became an obsession. He studied at the prestigious Royal Grammar School in Worcester and later at Oxford University in England. Those years shaped him deeply. He learned how to move comfortably between Eastern and Western cultures, something few Pakistanis of his generation could do so naturally. Yet despite the fame, there was always loneliness around him. His mother, Khanum, remained the emotional center of his life. Imran loved her deeply. Friends later said her approval mattered more to him than anyone else's. When she became sick with cancer in the 1980s, Imran watched helplessly as Pakistan's medical system failed her. The experience changed him forever. When she passed away in 1985, something inside him hardened. The glamorous parties still continued. The magazine covers still appeared. But people close to him noticed a shift. Imran began speaking less about fame and more about purpose. He dreamed of building a cancer hospital in Pakistan where poor people could receive treatment regardless of money. Most people thought the idea was impossible. Pakistan had never seen a project of that scale built through public donations. Even many of Imran's friends quietly believed he was dreaming too big. But he became obsessed with proving it could be done. At the same time, his cricket career was reaching legendary heights. In 1992, after years of struggle and criticism, Imran led Pakistan to victory in the Cricket World Cup. The image of him holding the trophy at the Melbourne Cricket Ground became immortal in Pakistani history. Millions celebrated in the streets. To the people of Pakistan, he was no longer just a sportsman. He was a national hero. But victory came with another problem. Now everyone expected him to become something greater. After retiring from cricket, Imran entered a strange phase of life. He was wealthy, globally famous, admired everywhere, and free to live however he wanted. London remained one of his favorite places. He spent time attending charity events, dinners, and elite social gatherings among aristocrats, businessmen, journalists, and celebrities. It was during this world of elite London society that fate slowly moved him toward someone nobody expected. Jemima Goldsmith was very different from the women usually linked to Imran Khan. Born into one of Britain's richest families, Jemima grew up surrounded by wealth, influence, and privilege. Her father, Sir James Goldsmith, was a billionaire financier known across Europe and America. Their family estate looked more like something from a royal film than ordinary life. But Jemima herself was not obsessed with luxury. Friends described her as intelligent, curious, and unusually thoughtful for someone raised in extreme privilege. She loved books, journalism, and politics more than social gossip. While many rich young people enjoyed attention, Jemima often seemed uncomfortable with celebrity culture. The first time she met Imran Khan, she was still very young. Different accounts exist about exactly where they first connected, but London society circles frequently brought them into the same rooms. At first, the relationship seemed unlikely. Imran was more than 20 years older. He was already one of the world's most famous men, while Jemima was just beginning adult life. Yet conversations between them became longer each time they met. Imran was unlike the wealthy British men Jemima had grown up around. He carried a mixture of confidence and intensity. He could discuss cricket one moment, global politics the next, then suddenly talk emotionally about Pakistan's poverty or his dream of building a cancer hospital. Jemima found herself fascinated. For Imran, Jemima was also different from the glamorous models and celebrities often surrounding him. She listened carefully when he spoke. She asked questions about Pakistan, religion, and family. There was sincerity in her curiosity. Soon the two began spending more time together privately. At first, very few people took the relationship seriously. London tabloids treated it like another celebrity romance that would disappear within months. Friends assumed Imran would never settle down. For years he had carried the reputation of an international playboy. The idea that he might marry a young British heiress seemed unrealistic even to people close to him. But slowly things changed. Jemima began visiting Pakistan. The first visits shocked her. Lahore was loud, emotional, crowded, colorful, and deeply traditional compared to the polished calm of upper-class London life. Security guards followed famous families everywhere. Politics entered ordinary conversations constantly. Entire households moved according to family traditions and social expectations. Yet Pakistan also fascinated her. She saw a side of Imran the Western world rarely saw. In Pakistan, he was not simply a celebrity. People adored him with almost emotional devotion. Children ran behind his car. Shopkeepers refused payment from him. Villagers traveled hours just to shake his hand. Jemima also saw his softer side around family. Imran's sisters watched her carefully in the beginning. Naturally, they worried whether a British girl from an aristocratic family could ever adjust to Pakistani life. But Jemima made genuine efforts to connect. She listened more than she spoke. She observed traditions carefully instead of mocking them. Still, rumors exploded everywhere. British tabloids printed photographs of the couple constantly. Pakistani newspapers debated the relationship daily. Some praised it as a symbol of East meeting West. Others criticized it harshly. Many conservatives in Pakistan disliked the idea of their national hero marrying a foreign woman. Meanwhile, some British elites privately viewed Pakistan through old stereotypes and could not understand why Jemima would leave London society for Lahore. Pressure grew heavier every month. Then came an even bigger shock. Jemima started studying Islam seriously. At first, many assumed she was only doing it to please Imran. But people close to her later said her interest became deeply personal. She read books, asked religious scholars questions, and tried understanding Pakistani culture beyond media headlines. Imran himself seemed surprised by how committed she became. For perhaps the first time in years, he appeared calmer and emotionally settled. Friends who once believed he would remain single forever noticed he was genuinely in love. Then, in 1995, the world woke up to unbelievable headlines. Imran Khan was getting married. The reaction was explosive. British tabloids treated it like an international royal romance. Pakistani media turned it into non-stop national coverage. Every photograph, every family detail, every wedding rumor became front-page news. Jemima converted to Islam before the marriage. Some critics accused her of doing it only for publicity. Others defended her sincerity. But despite the noise around them, the couple moved forward together. Their wedding ceremonies became global events. One part of the celebration took place in Paris in a private civil ceremony. Another grand traditional wedding followed in Pakistan. Images of Jemima wearing traditional Pakistani clothes spread across newspapers worldwide. For many Pakistanis, seeing their cricket hero standing beside a young British woman dressed respectfully in cultural attire felt surreal. But beneath the glamorous headlines, reality waited quietly ahead. Because marrying Imran Khan did not simply mean marrying a man. It meant marrying an entire country. The first months after the wedding felt almost magical. Everywhere Imran Khan and Jemima Goldsmith went, cameras followed. International magazines published glamorous photographs of the couple. Pakistani newspapers treated their marriage like a national event. To many people, they represented something unusual and hopeful, a bridge between two completely different worlds. But once the celebrations ended and normal life began, Jemima quickly discovered that being Imran Khan's wife in Pakistan was far more difficult than she had imagined. Lahore was beautiful, emotional, chaotic, and deeply traditional. The Khan family home was constantly filled with relatives, visitors, political discussions, household staff, and endless social expectations. Unlike London, where privacy existed behind closed doors, life in Pakistan felt public all the time. At first, Jemima tried to absorb everything quietly. She listened carefully to conversations in Urdu even when she understood only small pieces. She observed family traditions during dinners and gatherings. She learned how Pakistani households operated, especially the importance of elders and family reputation. She also understood something important very quickly. Pakistan was watching her constantly. Every outfit she wore became newspaper discussion. Every public appearance became controversy. If she wore Western clothes, critics attacked her for not respecting Pakistani culture. If she wore traditional shalwar kameez, others mocked her for pretending to be Pakistani. There was no winning. Yet she kept trying. Jemima began learning Urdu seriously. She practiced pronunciation with household staff and family members. She started dressing modestly in public, often covering her head during formal appearances. Gradually, many ordinary Pakistanis noticed the effort she was making. Some women who initially distrusted her slowly changed their opinions. "She's trying," people would say. And she truly was. Unlike many foreign wives of wealthy men who stayed isolated inside elite social circles, Jemima wanted to understand Pakistan beyond parties and luxury homes. She visited villages with Imran. She attended charity events. She met cancer patients and struggling families connected to Imran's hospital project. Those visits affected her deeply. Imran's dream of building the Kakit Khana Memorial Cancer Hospital and Research Center had consumed his life for years. Even after winning the World Cup, he spent enormous amounts of time fundraising instead of enjoying retirement. Jemima watched him transform completely whenever he spoke about the hospital. The glamorous celebrity disappeared. In his place stood a determined man driven by grief, purpose, and stubbornness. He traveled endlessly across Pakistan asking ordinary citizens for donations. Schoolchildren donated coins. Farmers contributed small savings. Wealthy businessmen gave millions. Sometimes Imran returned home exhausted and frustrated. Government officials delayed paperwork. Critics accused him of seeking publicity. Opponents claimed the project would fail. But Jemima supported him quietly through all of it. Late at night they would sit together discussing the future. Imran spoke about changing Pakistan someday, not just through charity but through politics. At the time, most people laughed at the idea. Cricketers should stay in sports, critics said. Even many friends warned him not to enter politics. Pakistan's political system was brutal. Corruption, personal attacks, and power struggles destroyed reputations quickly. But Imran was already thinking far beyond cricket. Meanwhile, Jemima herself faced increasing pressure. British tabloids portrayed her as a rich English girl trapped inside a conservative society. Pakistani hardliners still distrusted her foreign background. Some conspiracy theories even accused her of being part of secret Western agendas simply because she came from a Jewish family. The accusations hurt deeply. People close to Jemima later said she often felt isolated. She had left behind her familiar world in England, her friends, family routines, and comfort zone, to build a new life in Pakistan. But instead of acceptance, she constantly faced suspicion from both sides. Still, there were happy moments too. Inside the family home, away from cameras, life could feel surprisingly normal. Imran loved quiet evenings more than people expected. He enjoyed discussing books, politics, and history late into the night. Jemima's intelligence attracted him deeply because few people challenged his opinions directly. They also laughed often together. Friends remembered moments where the serious public image disappeared completely. Imran could become playful and sarcastic around people he trusted. Jemima's dry British humor balanced his intense personality. Then came one of the happiest chapters of their marriage. In 1996, their first son, Sulaiman Isa Khan, was born. The birth softened Imran emotionally in ways few had seen before. Holding his son changed him. The fiercely competitive cricket captain suddenly became protective and deeply attached to family life. 2 years later, their second son, Qasim Khan, was born. For a while, the family seemed genuinely happy. Photographs from those years often showed quieter moments. Imran holding his sons, Jemima smiling beside them in traditional clothes, the family spending time together away from political chaos. But outside those photographs, tension was slowly growing. Imran officially launched Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf in 1996. At first, nobody took the party seriously. Pakistan's political system was dominated by powerful dynasties with enormous resources and influence. Compared to them, Imran's movement looked tiny and inexperienced. Many people mocked him openly. Television commentators called him naive. Political rivals attacked him relentlessly. And soon, Jemima became a target too. Pakistani politics was not like cricket criticism. It was deeply personal and often cruel. Opponents realized quickly that attacking Imran's foreign wife could emotionally weaken him. Rumors spread everywhere. Newspapers questioned her loyalty to Pakistan. Some politicians insulted her publicly during speeches. Fake scandals appeared constantly. Even ridiculous conspiracy theories received television coverage simply because sensationalism attracted viewers. Imran became furious at the attacks. He defended Jemima aggressively in interviews, but the damage continued. The pressure inside the household grew heavier every year. At the same time, Jemima struggled privately with cultural adjustment. She loved many things about Pakistan: the warmth of ordinary people, family loyalty, generosity, humor, and emotional openness. But life under non-stop public scrutiny became exhausting. Even simple activities required security. Taking children outside became complicated because crowds gathered instantly around Imran. Privacy almost disappeared entirely. The political atmosphere also became increasingly toxic as Imran challenged powerful elites publicly. Friends noticed the stress building inside the marriage. Imran's personality had always been intense and obsessive. Once he committed to politics, it consumed nearly everything. He traveled constantly, held endless meetings, and spent hours planning speeches and campaigns. Jemima often found herself balancing two worlds alone. In England, people questioned why she stayed in Pakistan. In Pakistan, critics still treated her as an outsider no matter how hard she tried to adapt. Yet despite everything, she stayed beside him. Because beneath the political chaos and media cruelty, their relationship was still real. They genuinely loved each other. And for several years, that love survived pressures that would have destroyed many other marriages far earlier. By the late 1990s, the marriage between Imran Khan and Jemima Goldsmith had become far more than a private relationship. It had turned into a national obsession. In Pakistan, people discussed them everywhere, in drawing rooms, tea stalls, television studios, and political gatherings. Supporters admired them as a modern international couple trying to build a better future for the country. Critics viewed them with suspicion and hostility. There seemed to be no middle ground. And slowly, the pressure began changing both of them. Imran had entered politics believing honesty and determination alone could transform Pakistan. But reality hit him hard. His political party remained small and financially weak compared to established dynasties. Election campaigns were exhausting and humiliating. Sometimes only small crowds attended his rallies. Newspapers mocked him regularly. For a man who had spent most of his life winning admiration, politics became emotionally brutal. Cricket had clear rules. Politics did not. Former friends turned against him. Wealthy elites who once welcomed him into their homes began avoiding him because his anti-corruption speeches threatened powerful interests. Television debates became vicious. Every mistake was amplified publicly. At home, Imran carried constant frustration. He often spoke passionately about justice, corruption, and changing the system, but progress was painfully slow. Some nights he barely slept. Other nights he stayed awake planning strategies with party workers until morning. Jemima watched all of this closely. She had married a global sports icon, but now she was living beside a man becoming consumed by politics. The calm family moments grew fewer each year. Politics followed them into breakfast conversations, dinner discussions, and even vacations. Still, she tried supporting him. When critics attacked Imran publicly, Jemima defended him fiercely. She wrote articles, gave interviews, and stood beside him during difficult campaigns. Her loyalty surprised many people because by then she herself was under enormous pressure. The attacks against her had become uglier. Some newspapers published offensive stories about her background almost daily. Political opponents realized they could hurt Imran emotionally by targeting his wife. Conspiracy theories spread through Pakistan constantly. One rumor claimed she was secretly influencing Pakistan for Western interests. Another accused her of disrespecting local traditions despite all her efforts to adapt. At one point, political opponents even tried using anti-Semitic narratives against her because she came from a Jewish family background before converting to Islam. The situation became painful and humiliating. Friends close to the couple later said Jemima often felt she was fighting battles on every side. In Britain, some people mocked her decision to move to Pakistan. In Pakistan, critics still treated her as permanently foreign no matter how much she sacrificed. Yet ordinary people often treated her differently from politicians and media figures. During charity visits or hospital tours, common Pakistanis frequently welcomed her warmly. Women approached her with affection. Children smiled around her. Poor families respected the fact that she had left a life of luxury to live in Pakistan with her husband. Those moments gave her strength. Meanwhile, Imran's cancer hospital project finally became reality. The Kukhat Khana Memorial Cancer Hospital and Research Center opened and began treating patients regardless of wealth. For Imran, it was one of the proudest achievements of his life. Jemima stood beside him proudly during those years. She saw the emotional side of him the public rarely witnessed. When Imran walked through hospital halls meeting poor cancer patients, his tough public image softened completely. Sometimes he became emotional remembering his mother's suffering years earlier. But even success brought more pressure. Imran's growing reputation as an anti-corruption politician created powerful enemies. Some government figures viewed him as dangerous because he refused to join traditional political alliances. His speeches became sharper and more aggressive. And gradually, the marriage itself began carrying invisible cracks. One major struggle was the children. Suleiman and Qasim were growing older, and questions about their future became complicated. Should they grow up mainly in Pakistan or England? Which educational system should they follow? How could they balance two completely different cultures? Jemima worried constantly about their stability. Imran, however, remained emotionally tied to Pakistan above everything else. He believed deeply that his political mission mattered more than comfort or convenience. This difference slowly created distance between. Another issue was privacy. Their lives no longer belonged to them. Every argument became media speculation. Every appearance together was analyzed by newspapers searching for signs of trouble. If Jemima traveled to London alone, rumors exploded immediately. If Imran attended political events without her, tabloids invented stories. The constant attention exhausted them both. At times, Imran himself became frustrated with Pakistani media culture. He felt political opponents deliberately spread lies to weaken him. But his personality also made compromise difficult. Once he believed he was right about something, he rarely backed down. Jemima sometimes found this intensity overwhelming. Imran approached life like a battle, whether cricket, charity, or politics. He demanded enormous commitment from himself and often from people around him too. That same determination which inspired millions could also create emotional distance inside personal relationships. By the early 2000s, they were spending increasing amounts of time apart. Jemima traveled more frequently to England with the children. Officially, many visits were temporary. But close friends quietly sensed something was changing. Still, neither of them publicly criticized the other. Even during difficult periods, respect remained between them. Imran often praised Jemima's sacrifices openly, acknowledging how hard life in Pakistan had been for her. Jemima continued defending him publicly despite growing personal strain. Then came another wave of political toxicity. A legal controversy involving imported antique tiles exploded into national headlines. Opponents accused Jemima of financial wrongdoing connected to customs charges. Supporters believed the case was politically motivated harassment designed to embarrass Imran. The scandal became exhausting. Television talk shows discussed her constantly. Newspapers published accusations daily. For Jemima, it was another painful reminder that she would never truly escape political attacks while living in Pakistan. Emotionally, she was reaching her limit. Friends later described her during that period as deeply torn. She loved Imran genuinely. She loved aspects of Pakistan too. But she also missed the stability and anonymity of England. Most importantly, she worried about raising her sons inside non-stop political warfare. At the same time, Imran could not step away from politics anymore even if he wanted to. His entire identity had become connected to the struggle. He believed Pakistan desperately needed change, and he saw himself as responsible for fighting that battle no matter the personal cost. The more determined he became politically, the more isolated their marriage started feeling. Then, quietly and painfully, reality became impossible to ignore. Love alone was no longer enough to hold their worlds together. By 2003, the distance between Imran Khan and Jemima Goldsmith was no longer just emotional. It had become physical too. Jemima was spending more time in England with their sons, Suleiman and Qasim. Officially, the reasons were practical: education, family visits, and privacy for the children. But people close to the couple understood something deeper was happening. The marriage was slowly breaking under years of pressure. For nearly a decade, Jemima had tried to build a life in Pakistan despite constant scrutiny. She had changed her lifestyle completely, converted to Islam, adapted to a conservative society, learned Urdu, supported Imran's political ambitions, and endured endless public criticism. But exhaustion had finally caught up with her. There were days she felt like she no longer recognized herself. In London, she had once moved freely through bookstores, cafes, and streets without fear. In Pakistan, every outing involved security, cameras, rumors, and political interpretation. Even motherhood became difficult under constant public attention. Meanwhile, Imran's political life was becoming even more intense. His speeches against corruption were attracting supporters, but they were also creating stronger enemies. Established political parties viewed him as unpredictable and dangerous. Television debates became increasingly hostile. Political workers demanded more of his time every month. Imran threw himself deeper into the struggle. Some nights he stayed awake until dawn discussing strategy with party members. Other nights he traveled across Pakistan addressing small gatherings in distant cities, refusing to give up despite repeated political failures. To him, politics had become a mission larger than personal happiness. And that was part of the problem. Jemima increasingly felt that there was no room left in his life untouched by politics. Every conversation somehow returned to Pakistan's future, corruption, or political reform. The man who once laughed easily during quiet evenings now carried the permanent tension of a leader under attack. Friends noticed the change in him too. He had become more serious, more guarded, less emotionally available. Years of criticism had hardened him. Trusting people became difficult. Even inside his own party, betrayals and disappointments were common. At the same time, Jemima herself was changing. Motherhood had become the center of her life. More than anything else, she wanted stability for her children. She worried constantly about the emotional effect of growing up inside endless political conflict and media drama. Some reports claimed she encouraged Imran to spend more time focusing on family life. But slowing down was impossible for him. In his mind, Pakistan stood at a historic crossroads, and he believed he had a responsibility to fight for change no matter the personal sacrifice. Walking away from politics would feel like abandoning his mission. The tension between duty and family grew heavier every month. Yet despite the growing cracks, their affection for each other never fully disappeared. When they appeared together publicly, there was still warmth between them. Imran often looked at Jemima with genuine admiration. He knew how much she had sacrificed for him. Few British women from her background would have survived even 1 year under the pressures she had endured for nearly a decade. And Jemima still defended him fiercely against critics. Whenever opponents mocked Imran or questioned his integrity, she responded publicly and intelligently. Even after difficult arguments in private, she continued protecting him in public. That loyalty remained real until the very end. But reality was becoming unavoidable. The children were growing older. Their education needed stability. Jemima's emotional connection to England remained strong. Imran's connection to Pakistan remained absolute. Neither could fully leave their world behind. Then came the conversations every couple fears. Quiet, painful discussions late at night about whether love was enough anymore. Unlike dramatic movie separations, there were no screaming matches or explosive scandals between them. The sadness came from something more complicated. Two people still caring deeply for each other while realizing their lives were moving in different directions. Imran understood how unhappy and isolated Jemima had become. Jemima understood that politics was now inseparable from who Imran was. And so, slowly, they began accepting what neither had wanted to admit for years. The marriage could not survive forever under these conditions. In June 2004, they publicly announced their divorce. The news shocked millions across Pakistan and Britain. For nearly 10 years, their relationship had symbolized something larger than celebrity romance. They represented the idea that two completely different cultures could meet through love and understanding. Many people had emotionally invested themselves in the marriage. Now it was ending. But what surprised the world most was the dignity of their separation. There were no ugly interviews, no revenge stories, no public accusations. Instead, both spoke about each other with unusual respect. Imran openly acknowledged the sacrifices Jemima had made by leaving Britain and living in Pakistan. He admitted the pressure on her had been enormous. He especially praised her support during the difficult years of building his political movement and cancer hospital. Jemima, meanwhile, refused to attack him publicly despite intense media interest. She spoke kindly about him in interviews and emphasized that they remained connected through their children. That mutual respect touched many people deeply. Even political opponents who disliked Imran admitted the separation was handled with maturity rarely seen among famous couples. Some Pakistanis who had criticized Jemima for years suddenly began appreciating how much she had endured quietly. After the divorce, Jemima moved permanently back to England with the children, though Imran remained closely involved in their lives. The separation from his sons affected him emotionally more than he publicly admitted. Friends later said he often looked lonely during those years. Politics still consumed him, but family absence created a visible sadness around him at times. Photographs of him with his sons during visits became emotionally important to him. Jemima also faced difficult adjustments after returning to Britain. For years she had lived between cultures. Pakistan had changed her permanently. Even after divorce, she continued following Pakistani politics closely and often defended Pakistan internationally against unfair stereotypes. People noticed something interesting. Despite no longer being married, she still seemed emotionally connected to the country and to Imran's political struggle in some ways. Meanwhile, Imran's political journey continued through years of failure and ridicule. Election losses came repeatedly. Critics called him irrelevant. Powerful politicians mocked his small party constantly. But he refused to quit. And somewhere quietly in the background of those difficult years remained the memory of a woman who had once believed in him long before most of Pakistan did. After the divorce, the lives of Imran Khan and Jemima Goldsmith moved in different directions, yet their story never truly disappeared from public memory. In Pakistan, people continued speaking about them for years as if the relationship had become part of the country's cultural history rather than simply a marriage. For Imran, the years after separation were some of the hardest of his life. Politically, he was still struggling. His party, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, remained far from power. Many television analysts dismissed him as a failed politician living off old cricket fame. Election results repeatedly disappointed him. There were moments when even supporters quietly wondered if his dream would ever become reality. But Imran had always been stubborn beyond reason. That same stubbornness once made him practice cricket endlessly until he became world-class. It pushed him to build the Pakistan Khan Memorial Cancer Hospital and Research Center when experts said it was impossible. Now it drove him forward politically despite humiliation and defeat. Yet away from rallies and speeches, another struggle remained private. He missed his sons deeply. Because Suleiman and Qasim were growing up mainly in England, Imran often had to rely on visits, vacations, and phone calls to maintain closeness with them. Whenever they visited Pakistan, he appeared visibly happier. Friends noticed how his serious political personality softened around his children. He wanted them to understand Pakistan, its culture, and their roots. At the same time, he understood why Jemima had chosen stability in England for them. That understanding helped preserve respect between the former couple. Unlike many high-profile divorces that turned bitter over time, their relationship evolved into something calmer and more mature. They were no longer husband and wife, but they remained connected through family, shared history, and mutual understanding. Jemima also continued rebuilding her own identity. Returning to Britain after years in Pakistan felt emotionally strange at first. She was no longer simply the billionaire's daughter from London society. Pakistan had transformed her worldview completely. Friends said she spoke differently after those years, with deeper understanding of politics, religion, media pressure, and cultural complexity. Living in Pakistan during such intense years had made her tougher emotionally. She later built a successful career in journalism, writing, and film production. Intelligent, articulate, and politically aware, she gained respect in British media circles on her own merits rather than simply as Imran Khan's former wife. But no matter how much time passed, interviewers always returned to the same subject: Imran Khan. And interestingly, Jemima rarely spoke about him with anger. Even years later, there remained warmth whenever she discussed parts of their life together. She openly admitted that she had loved Pakistan deeply despite the difficulties. She also defended ordinary Pakistanis repeatedly, saying the hospitality and kindness she received from common people often differed greatly from the toxic political environment. In Pakistan, public opinion about Jemima slowly changed over time too. During the marriage, critics often treated her harshly. But after the divorce, many people began recognizing how much she had actually sacrificed. She had left one of the most privileged lifestyles imaginable to live under enormous pressure in a foreign country because she loved someone. That realization softened many opinions. Some Pakistanis even began speaking nostalgically about the years when she stood beside Imran through political struggles nobody else believed in. Meanwhile, Imran's political journey entered a dramatic new phase. By the early 2010s, something surprising started happening. Young Pakistanis began rallying behind him in huge numbers. Years of frustration with corruption, unemployment, and dynastic politics created a new political energy across the country. Suddenly, the man once mocked as an unrealistic dreamer was attracting massive crowds. Imran's speeches became sharper, more confident, and more emotional. He spoke about justice, accountability, national dignity, and building a new Pakistan. Huge rallies filled with young supporters shocked traditional political parties. And through all this, Jemima occasionally defended him publicly online whenever international criticism became unfair or personal. People noticed. Even after divorce, she still seemed protective of him at times. Then came 2018. After more than 2 decades of political struggle, defeats, ridicule, and persistence, Imran Khan finally became Prime Minister of Pakistan. For his supporters, it felt historic. The former cricket captain who once carried Pakistan to World Cup victory had now reached the country's highest political office. Crowds celebrated wildly across cities. Many longtime supporters cried emotionally during his victory speech. And quietly, somewhere in the background of that moment, people remembered Jemima too, because she had stood beside him during the years when almost nobody believed he could ever achieve power. She had witnessed the early painful stages of his political struggle long before massive rallies and national popularity arrived. Some old photographs of the couple began circulating again online after his victory. Images from the 1990s showing a younger Imran and Jemima smiling together during difficult early campaign years. Those pictures carried a strange emotional feeling. They reminded people how much time had passed and how complicated life could become. But Imran's time as Prime Minister also became deeply controversial and turbulent. Pakistan's political system remained intensely divided. Supporters viewed him as a reformer trying to challenge corruption. Opponents accused him of mismanagement and political revenge. Eventually, political conflict consumed the country again. Even during these chaotic years, Jemima occasionally defended him against what she considered unfair treatment, especially when criticism became personal rather than political. This surprised many international observers. But people who understood their history were less shocked. Some relationships do not fully disappear even after marriage ends. They simply transform into something quieter and more complicated. Today, the story of Imran Khan and Jemima remains unforgettable because it was never merely about celebrity romance. It was about sacrifice. About two people from radically different worlds trying to build a shared life despite religion, politics, media pressure, geography, and cultural expectations pulling them apart constantly. Imran represented Pakistan, emotional, proud, intense, ambitious, and politically turbulent. Jemima represented another world entirely, British aristocracy, Western liberal society, and international media culture. For nearly 10 years, they tried to unite those worlds through love. Sometimes they succeeded beautifully. Sometimes the pressure became unbearable. But even after separation, neither erased the other from their story. Imran rarely spoke disrespectfully about Jemima. Jemima rarely spoke bitterly about Imran. That alone made their story unusual in modern public life. Years later, many Pakistanis still say the same thing when discussing them. They truly loved each other, but the world around them was too heavy. And perhaps that is why their story still feels emotional decades later. Not because it ended perfectly, but because, for a while, two completely different people genuinely tried to make the impossible work.